Hi there and welcome to tutorial 53. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a synth jam and it's inspired by Thomas Dolby, the Thompson twins and Howard Jones. So Dave, run the track. And now I'll show you how I got some of those sounds. The first sound that you'll hear is a kind of a TR-808 sort of drum sound, which involves some hi-hats. And I'll show you how I got that sound. So go over to an initial setting. And the first thing that we need to do, even though oscillators 1 and 2 are not going to be audible, we'll take those out for a second. We are going to, well, let's put it in, why not? We are going to set those up on oscillator 1 16 foot on a sine wave. There we are, sine wave. And oscillator 2 is going to be an 8 foot pitch, also on a sine wave. But we're going to get some frequency modulation there, and this value is all the way up. Now this is what we're hearing at the moment. By putting in the second oscillator and FM by oscillator 1, that's creating all those overtones that are possible by frequency modulation at audio level. On oscillator 3, we'll put that in. And that's going to be a 1 foot pitch. In actual fact, it doesn't matter too much about the pitch on this one, but I think 1 foot is the most appropriate. Again on a sine wave and frequency modulation 100 all the way up. Sounds a little bit odd there, but when we put that along with some noise, the noise is going to be fully up and it's white noise. Okay, we need a bandpass filter on there, and the cutoff, it's 24 dB slope, and the cutoff frequency is 83. A resonance 60, so we're getting some emphasis around the cutoff point. Key track 96, so it'll open up exactly as the keyboard opens up. And it's sounding a little bit more like some hi-hats already. But what's going to complete that sound is the amplifier envelope. So attack 0, decay 40, okay, sustain 0, and we're going to put some release on there, 77. Now what that does is when I hold the note down, it stops and settles at this level here, which is 0. When I release the key like this, it just sustains on a bit. Now you probably won't hear that in the track too much because there's not a lot of variation there, but that's the hi-hat sound. So now I'm going to go on to the kick and snare. And if I show you the kick and snare sound, we've got very reminiscent, I suppose, of the Roland TR-808 rhythm machine. And oscillator 1. Yeah, we need to go to an initial setting. Oscillator 1 is going to be on a 16 foot sine wave, and it sounds like this. So that's going to give us the pitch of the drums. We need to put some white noise in there. That's all the way up. Okay, and then the filter settings, low pass filter, 24 dB slope, cutoff 99. Okay, resonance 52, so it's putting some emphasis around the cutoff point. Key track 96 again. Now it's possible to put the key track all the way up to 127, but for this one we're going to use 96. And we don't need any filter envelope at all, but we do need velocity 0 on here and amplifier envelope, attack 0, decay 46, sustain 0, release can be 0 or it can be as much as about 60. What that does is it gives an extra sort of ambience to the sound. Like that. So it's up to you whether you want a tight sound or an open sound. I think this one actually at the moment is on 0, so it's quite a tight sound. No, it's not. It's about 60. Okay, and then we'll go on to the instrumental sounds. And the next sound that we're going to look at is providing the bottom end, and it's a bass sound. I've called it metalizer because on the Arturia mini brutes, which I've got a little version of, on the oscillator, there's only one oscillator there, it's got a metalizer setting, and I was trying to get that sort of sound. What I've actually used on the Sledge is I've gone to the wavetable. But the first thing that we need to set up are the LFOs. And, let me show you the sound. So if I now go to an initial setting, we'll set up those LFOs again. So LFO 1 is on a ramp, and that's controlling pulse width modulation. It's also controlling the wave from the wavetable, and also any frequency modulation that we decide to put in. Speed 49. There we are. And depth is minus 46. Oops. There we are, depth 46. Now the only thing that we can hear at the moment is a bit of pulse width modulation from oscillator 1. Let's set up oscillator 1. 32 foot pitch, and we're going to dip into the wavetable, which is here. We're using wavetable 001, and the actual wave from that table is 86. But because we've got some pulse width modulation in there, it's going to vary a bit according to the ramp setting from LFO 1. Now, we're also going to use LFO 2 on a sine wave, but also assign that to pulse width modulation. This time the speed is 28, so we're going to get a cyclical modulation from the LFO now. And the depth is 23, plus 23 that is. So there's lots of nice things going on with the harmonic content from the wavetable. Oscillator 2, if we click that in, again 32 foot pitch, it's a sine wave, there we are. A frequency modulation is 100. So nice lot of modulation going on there. Detune -8. Let's click in oscillator 3, and that's on a pulse waveform. There we are. And the pulse width is 69. detune minus 18. So we're going to get some pulse width modulation coming in on the pulse waveform from LFO1 and LFO2. So there's a nice sort of rich kind of sound, which is quite reminiscent of the Arturia Mini Brute. Let's go over to the filter section, and we've got a low pass, 24 dB slope, cut off 40. Quite extreme, I hear you say. But of course we're going to bring that up with the filter amount. Filter amount 29, let's do that first. Let's hear the sound. Oh, we can't hear very much there. So cut off 40, resonance 31. Key track 64, that's smack in the middle. And attack 0, decay 78. There we are. Sustain 0, 9. So that's already sounding good. Release is 0 on this. Velocity 0, and it's the default settings on the amplifier envelope, which are 0, 127 and 0 here. We're going to use, for an added little bit of modulation, if you like, we're going to use the phaser on here. And this is the default settings of rate 20 and depth 50. So here's the final sound. And another sound that we're going to look at is the chord sound, and that sounds like this, 708. A sort of a fluty sound, it's almost like a mellotron really. But we've got lots of things going on there, so let's explain that. Go over to the initial setting. We're going to set up the LFOs again, and LFO1 sine wave to pulse width modulation, speed 18, depth 37. We've got oscillator 1 in there. Now LFO2, we'll set that up as well, is a sine wave applied to oscillators 1, 2 and 3 to control the pitch. So it'll give us a little bit of wobble, speed 37, which is quite slow for a vibrato, but the depth is only 0.7. So that's giving us our basic sound there. But of course oscillator 1 is on 8-foot pitch, and it's using the wavetable again. And this time we're on 0.02. But the wave from that, the wave setting is 25. Which is a nice sound in itself, but by the time we've put in oscillator 2 on an 8-foot pitch, we'll detune that by plus 21. And that's on a triangle waveform. Okay, oscillator 3 is on an 8-foot pitch. Again, it's on a triangle waveform. Now, depending on these settings here, will give us the values that we need for frequency modulation. I'm just going to double check that with the sound itself, 708, and I find that on here we've got a FM amount 71. There we are. On oscillator 2 that is, and on oscillator 3 we've got a value of 11. We've got a low pass filter, 24 dB per octave, cutoff 87. There we are. Resonance 0, key track 79. And no filter envelope amount at all, so that's at 0. On the amplifier envelope, velocity 0, attack 46, so we've got a bit of a fade into the sound. Sustain is 127 and release 48. and we've got no other effects on that, no reverb or chorus, but that's our sound. And you can hear that sort of wobbling in and out, and that's obviously from the LFOs affecting things like the wavetable and the frequency modulation of these two chaps here. Now the third and final sound, the instrumental sound that was explained on tutorial 37, which is the Howard Jones feature, and that's this sound here, 735. So hopefully you'll be able to check that on tutorial 37, and I hope you've enjoyed this little synth jam.